Welcome and thank you for joining us on the first edition of the Poke Report. I'm Courtney May.
And I'm Justin Packard. Each week we'll give you an in-depth look at what's going on inside the world of OSU athletics.
We have everything you need for the spring sports season, from baseball and softball to tennis and track. We'll also take a look inside men's and women's basketball as their seasons are winding down.
The 2015 baseball season is about to start, and the preseason 5th-ranked Cowboys will be without some of their big bats from last year. Outfielder Zach Fish and first baseman Tanner Kriedemeyer have both moved on to the majors.
The Cowboys will be looking to replace their numbers, but they might not have to look very hard, as a change to the ball could produce more runs.
The NCAA took an initiative to increase the popularity of college baseball by trying to help increase home run production. One major change to help raise the popularity of the sport involves the actual ball. With lowered seams on the new baseball, air resistance should be less, resulting in more home runs and longer ones as well. With college baseball's power numbers decreasing over the past few years, Coach Josh Holliday says the new ball will make a difference.
Balls that maybe were driven to the wall in the past, I think, have a chance to go out. And some balls that we grew accustomed to seeing leave the ballpark for a long time that have since become long fly ball outs or extra base hits. You may see that return to the home run a little bit more often.
With the addition of the new baseball, power numbers should rise. A reduction in drag on the laces will allow balls that land here to go over the fence.
Most of the players have noticed the flight of the ball has changed, including junior outfielder Connor Costello, but they don't know for sure how power numbers will be affected.
They fly farther for sure. I mean, we were hitting with them in the fall and a little bit here in the spring, and you can really tell. You can tell the difference. Balls are getting in the gaps a little quicker.
Other players like senior infielder Tim Arakawa have noticed the balls get out there faster, but it's not something he focuses on.
My game is basically small ball. I'll get a double here and there sometimes, but I'm more of a singles kind of guy. Maybe one time I'll run into a ball, but I don't know, maybe some balls that I line out to the center fielder will go over his head this time.
Last season, the Cowboys led the Big 12 in home runs and were top 10 in the nation with 53 as a team. Holliday's goal isn't looking for the team to drastically hit more home runs, but to develop his players into consistent hitters.
That's not really what you're shooting for. You're trying to just hit the ball hard, often. Typically when you do that with a strong athlete and he gets the ball lifted a little bit, it has a chance to go. But we focus more on being good, complete hitters and less than on being power hitters.
Although the ball will have an effect on decision-making during a game, Coach Holliday will not stray too far from his original philosophy of get 'em on, get 'em over, get 'em in. For the Poke Report, I'm Kyle Mutch.
The baseball won't be an issue for the Cowboys, as this past season they were ranked 18th in the nation for on-base percentage and 3rd in sacrifice bunts, which proves they can score in many ways.
Bats aren't the only things the Cowboys lost. Pitchers Brendan McCurry and Vince Whelan both moved on to the bigs. Now, one potential starter could be coming from the outfield. Reese Van Haften takes us on the story of one batter's journey back to the mound.
Being a collegiate baseball player is hard enough. One Oklahoma State competitor takes baseball to a whole new level. Connor Costello is what football players consider an athlete. He was recruited out of high school for both hitting and pitching. Last year, after injuring his elbow, Costello played mostly in the outfield to keep his bat in the lineup. But now that Costello has recovered from Tommy John surgery, he is primed to play a key role in the Cowboy pitching staff. Even with the challenges of switching between roles, those problems never enter his mind when he's on the mound.
Whenever you're up on the mound, you kind of have a mindset to where maybe sometimes you're out there kind of on your own, but you got to trust everybody else that they're behind you and they're there for you and they can make the plays when needed.
Costello understands that the mindset between pitching and fielding is the same, but he needs to perfect his mechanics to have an impact pitching. Pitching puts more of a demand on the elbow than fielding does. And if you don't have good mechanics, the elbow can take a majority of the hit.
Mechanics are an important part of a pitcher's windup. This is why Costello has to avoid from flying open, so he can maintain balance, unlike I just did, and avoid injury.
Even though making the transition from a fielder to a pitcher is difficult, pitching coach Rob Walton says Costello has some natural gifts that will benefit the whole team.
He has a kind of a longer arm action, so timing is a big issue for him. So when his timing's right, his stuff comes out. It's his ability to repeat his delivery, repeat his mechanics that allows him to be consistently in the zone.
To help make the transition, Walton and Costello have found it useful to watch what the pros do. So, part of their training routine involves watching video of MLB players. The only issue with this is that Costello has to be careful which players he chooses.
Rob Walton will go and kind of put ourselves with another pitcher. He really kind of teaches you what the right way through a lot of different pitchers, and it's just not necessarily one, but maybe one in particular might help you more than another.
For Costello, this one pitcher is Mariano Rivera. If Costello could mimic Rivera's form, OSU is in for a real treat. For the Poke Report, I'm Reese Van Haften.
While Costello looks to get back on the mound, head coach Josh Holliday has also mentioned using him defensively in the field as well as in the batting order.
Two bats that aren't going anywhere have become a staple in the infield and will look to fill the void left by Zach Fish and Tanner Kriedemeyer. Katie Cox takes us inside the friendship of two teammates that goes beyond the diamond.
When you see two OSU infielders together, whether it's on or off the field, you would think they have been playing together for years, especially when it comes to OSU junior shortstop Donnie Walton and OSU senior second baseman Tim Arakawa. However, Arakawa transferred from Yavapai College in Arizona last season, but it didn't take long for the two to connect. They share a room every time the team travels, and they tend to be inseparable while at home. The chemistry was just there, and Arakawa says that it made it easy for the two to play so well together.
You just kind of develop that instinct for where the other person is going to be and where the feeds are going to be when we're turning double plays. And you kind of just start thinking on the same level that he's thinking on.
It's a proven fact when your starting middle infielders have great chemistry off the field, they're going to be nearly impossible to stop once they step in between these lines. Walton and Arakawa proved that to be true.
As if spending the majority of their day together at the baseball field wasn't enough, Walton and Arakawa spend a lot of their free time together as well. Whether it's playing ping pong or darts, Walton says they always seem to be competing with each other.
We're always competing outside baseball, so like ping pong, darts, whatever it has to do, we're always competing against each other. I got him in ping pong if you gotta ask him, so.
That's very true, but he's made me a lot better at ping pong than when I first got here, so I've been giving him a couple runs for his money, but he'll still come out on top.
One would think when two best friends play next to each other, there has to be some distractions. But Walton says talking to each other isn't always the problem when it comes to playing next to Arakawa.
The only thing that probably distracts me is him rapping in the infield, so he's always rapping out there. We're all, trying to hang loose, as we, call it, but it's a privilege to play next to him.
Walton and Arakawa have become quite the dynamic duo, and we can only watch their chemistry grow as they prepare to defend their Big 12 conference title. For the Poke Report, I'm Katie Cox.
Having that kind of chemistry on the field could be used to replicate last year's season success, and much of that success was credited to head coach Josh Holliday as he led his team to a regional and super regional, both hosted in Stillwater. Olivia Cummings gives us an inside look at Josh Holliday, the man behind Oklahoma State University baseball.
OSU baseball has a legacy that dates back to as far as the 1950s. Last year, they made it to the Super Regional for the first time since 2008. But their success was not only a credit to the slew of talent on the team, but also to a man whose vision earned him the 2014 Big 12 Coach of the Year, Mr. Josh Holliday. Holliday was born and raised in Stillwater, where he then went on to make his mark in the record books as an OSU baseball player. His dad, Tom Holliday, also held the head coaching position from 1997 to 2003, the year that his son Josh would be inducted into the OSU Baseball Hall of Fame. Holliday told me that his time as a player here and having a dad for a coach has given him some valuable insight into what kind of coaching style he wanted to have.
My dad was very competitive. He never took no for an answer. He never let an obstacle get in the way of success.
His philosophy has definitely shown to be successful. His team earned the Big 12 Conference Championship last year despite having 28 come from behind wins.
Day in and day out, all he's wanting to do is make us better. I think that's what happened last year. We started off a little bit slow, but over the course of the season, we started getting on fire, and by the end of the season we had a lot of success.
Since becoming head coach in 2012, Holiday has led his team to winning records in NCAA tournament appearances every year. His success has made coming home to his alma mater even more special.
You don't want to let anybody down. You want to please the people that showed enough confidence in you to hire you. Obviously our fans want a winning team, and we want desperately to give our fans what it is that they see.
As if his list of accolades both as a player and a coach wasn't long enough, earning Big 12 Coach of the Year was just the icing on the cake. But you won't hear him talk about that. He has and always will stay true to his team-first mentality.
Well, I never worried about anything for me. My whole goal was for our team. Success and the individual things are really secondary. They're completely a byproduct of having the right approach. I don't think it matters who's called what or who gets credit for anything. The only thing that matters is the good of our team, the good of our players. They believe that, as do I.
For O State TV, I'm Olivia Cummings.
Another achievement on Holiday's resume is his ability to recruit, bringing in back-to-back top 5 recruiting classes. The Cowboys start play this weekend against the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Joining us now is reporter Mason Doherty, who has spent a lot of time at Cowgirls Softball Stadium. Mason, tell us what you've seen.
Well, Courtney, similar to baseball, the OSU Cowgirls will be missing a key veteran in Simone Freeman. She had 286 strikeouts last year. They'll be looking at some young arms that filled their former ace. I talked to one of the candidates who's making a strong case of filling that position. This year's OSU softball pitching staff is missing one key component: senior leadership. In fact, the Cowgirls are the only team in the Big 12 without an upperclassman pitcher. OSU this spring has 5 pitchers, including 4 sophomores and 1 true freshman. Coach Willigman says he is eager to use this season as a training ground for the young pitching staff. He isn't asking anything extraordinary from this young group, just so they remember the little things.
But they can improve, possibly with how they're getting ahead, possibly with what they're doing in counts, pitches they're able to throw.
This year's pitchers had a combined 4.46 ERA last season, so there is room for improvement. Coach Willigman says it's nice to know they all got time on the mound last season, but the staff lacks situational game pitching.
But they're inexperienced, so you don't know how they're going to handle situations. That's the thing that, you always pull on experience when it comes to this stage of the game, and a lot of our kids don't have that yet. It can be good, it can be bad.
So a question surrounding this year's pitching staff, one might have to wonder, who's going to take that one pitch to get that big out? Well, let's just say it will not be me, but someone that might is someone that has an aggressive mentality when coming to the mound.
Go right at them. That's like our first thing that we're taught as pitchers is to go right at the person, and you do what you can do and your defense will support you.
Lively's ERA led the team in the fall scrimmages, including an average of about 7 strikeouts per 7 innings. Speed is her specialty. She clocked in last year with a 69 to 72 mile per hour fastball. Despite the young staff, Lively is confident in the other pitchers. She says to counteract the missing of senior leadership, all the pitchers contribute towards leading the team. It's something that Lively appreciates compared to last year.
Actually, I love it. Our team loves it this year that we're young and we're rebuilding. We have like a new culture.
It's a support system that might eventually grow into being the face of OSU softball. For the Poke Report, I'm Mason Doherty. Well, in her first start of the season against the Arizona Wildcats, Lively pitched 5 1/3 inning, allowing 2 runs and having 2 strikeouts.
Now, Mason, other than Lively, who is a possible pitcher that could become the ace of this staff?
I'm going to look at sophomore Brandy Neeham, who's a transfer from Illinois. She has the most experience on this team. She pitched 193 innings last year and actually led the Big Ten in walks allowed with 1.45 per 7 innings.
And can you talk a little bit about how the new pitching coach has influenced the staff?
Well, Tracy is bringing a really aggressive approach to the pitching staff. I mean, you heard Lively saying that we're going to go right at them. Well, that goes for all the pitchers. Lively's just really bought into it because she has a 72 mile per hour fastball, so that kind of helps. But I think with this new culture and a new first-time pitching coach and with these new pitchers, I think it's all going to work out for the best.
Well, thanks for hopping on with us, Mason. Now, the pitchers aren't the only things the Cowgirls lost from last season. On the infield, they lost Ari Morrison, Shannon Kaufman, and Tara Ettinger. Now, Anise McEwen talks to us about the growing pains of a young squad.
Adding 5 freshmen to a thin OSU roster would seem like a daunting task for any softball team, but this season's Cowgirls may find it beneficial. With a new lineup comes a different mentality and a healthy dose of competition at key positions.
Yeah, it's still up in the air a little bit. I think, we're going to let the first few games, first few weekends play itself out and see where we're at as far as the team goes.
One weekend into their 2015 season, the Cowgirls are still adjusting to the fresh crop of talent. During a 3-game series in Arizona, OSU was outscored 21-5 against a seasoned Wildcat offense. It was a wake-up call for the young team.
You don't know how the youth is going to affect in a game situation, how they're affected by the level of play.
Despite the slow start, OSU remains optimistic about the upcoming season. Big 12 teams like Oklahoma and Baylor await the Cowgirls in conference play and present a unique challenge to their defense.
Fortunately for the Cowgirls, this year's freshman class boasts some of the program's most exciting new talent, ready to contribute.
As a highly recruited infielder from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Vanessa Shippey is one of those freshmen. Shippey started all 3 games at second base against Arizona and was responsible for some of the team's biggest plays. While on defense, Shippey doesn't allow her inexperience to slow down her role as a young leader, and she's beginning to see it pay off.
As a freshman, the communication level and the chemistry has gotten so much better from the first week here.
But much of that communication doesn't only come from the team's freshmen. OSU's only 2 seniors are doing their part. Center fielder Shelby Davis and shortstop Jasenia De La Cruz are trying to keep their team focused as it finds its footing.
So we're just going to go in like every team's the same. We're always going to be 1-0. We're always looking for that win. We're not looking behind us. We're not looking ahead.
And the Cowgirls' inexperience could actually be an advantage. Rather than focusing on the missing parts, OSU is creating an entirely new identity for the seasons to come.
I think this team will be able to accept any challenges that are in front of us. So I'm looking forward to it because I do believe our youth is probably the strength of our team.
That youth will be tested again this weekend in Alabama at the Mardi Gras Invitational. For the Poke Report, I'm Anise McEwen.
As Anise mentioned, second baseman Vanessa Shippey has already stepped into a prominent role for the Cowgirls, starting all 3 games in Arizona and recording her first hit in the season opener, a double in the 3rd inning. Shippey has impressed the coaching staff and led the team with a .533 batting average this past fall. Logan Smith introduces us to the highly recruited Cowgirl.
A lot has changed in the past year for Cowgirl softball. Several key players leave the lineup and 5 fresh faces join it, including freshman infielder Vanessa Shippey. Shippey earned Gatorade Idaho Softball Player of the Year for her 2013-14 season and describes what it's like becoming a part of a collegiate team.
I think as a freshman, I'm really trying to focus on just getting used to the speed of the game. I know that everyone talks about college is just such a different level, and I think for all of us freshmen, we're really just trying to stay true to all the mechanics we learned and we know.
Shippey was a ranked All-American coming out of Lake City High School and is expected to make an immediate impact on the team. With a .622 batting average, she says her strong points come in hitting, base running, and maintaining focus on defense. Assistant coach Mark Ryle also joins the Cowgirls and brings with him a new hitting ideal.
I think he's got him to relax. He's brought in a little bit of a different philosophy in a way. We're on the same page, but he brings a different way of presenting it. And the girls have bought in. They're working hard, and they're swinging the bats really well.
Shippey says the team has improved with Ryle's techniques, and they're excited to watch offensive numbers develop.
He loves to try new things and get us all on the same swing path. Our swing has gotten a lot better from the first week we've been here.
And with better hitters come better pitchers. Coach Willigman says it provides a chance for both sides of the ball to practice with altered hits.
I like the staff because the hitters are so good now. I mean, you got to give them different looks, and I think that's one thing that hurts them.
And while it is a rebuilding period for the Cowgirls, a lot is to be said about the unity of the team.
Because I do believe our youth is probably the strength of our team and just their willingness to keep working hard, not worried about who they're playing.
I feel like we've been here for multiple years. We all know each other really well, and we're ready to actually go play together.
For the Poke Report, I'm Logan Smith.
Shippey scored one of OSU's 5 runs against the Wildcats as the Cowgirls start the season at 0-3. They don't return to Stillwater until February 28th for a 2-game series against Hofstra.
Switching over into basketball, the Oklahoma State University men's basketball team is riding a 3-game winning streak and moving into the top 25, coming in at number 21. Leading scorers for the Cowboys are LeBrian Nash and Phil Forte, combining for 802 points. Let's take a look at the Cowboy basketball team and see what's in store for the rest of the season.
A season that started 8-0 with 8 newcomers to the program. The Oklahoma State University men's basketball team is battling through the top conference in the country. Head coach Travis Ford.
In this league, you got to be close with 10 minutes to go in a game. Be close, and then the last 10 minutes, man, you got to figure something out. Now, that's going to be true for every team in this league, probably.
And with 70% of the conference projected to make the NCAA tournament, the 17-7 Cowboys are on a 3-0 run against ranked opponents.
What a win for the Cowboys, and here they come.
We just wanted to, kind of win for them, put on a show for them. So anytime they can come out and support us, we don't want to let them down. So.
Yet with 20 wins traditionally being the magic number to make the big dance, the Cowboys have 6 more chances in conference play to try to find those 3 wins. And with 6 of the 10 teams ranked in the top 25, Ford says it won't be easy.
We've talked to our team a lot about this league and the different swings it can take and different things like that, and you got to persevere in this league. You got to persevere. I mean, that's the name of the game.
With 3 games to play in historic Gallagher-Iba Arena, securing ground at home could be the answer to the Cowboys' postseason dreams.
The Cowboys have made 4 NCAA tournament appearances under head coach Travis Ford, and they're looking to improve their chances at a 5th as they head into Fort Worth on Saturday to take on the TCU Horned Frogs.
The women's team has had an up-and-down season after losing leading scorer point guard Tiffany Bias to the WNBA. The team has struggled to find its identity. Bailey Burmaster brings us up to date with Cowgirl basketball.
The Oklahoma State women's basketball team is in the midst of conference play and struggled to make an impact against third-ranked Baylor. The 4-7 Cowgirls couldn't handle the depth of the Bears that had 4 starters score in the double digits. OSU is 1-5 in their last 6 games.
We're not the only one that's going through tough stretches here, and it's how you handle it and how you advance further. It ain't going to do us any good to beat these kids up right now. I think they love playing. They enjoy playing with each other. It's just a case that we've got to get better. We're not as good as we need to be right now.
The Cowgirls are struggling to find the momentum for their season, and it might have something to do with the adversity they're facing on and off the court. Guard Brittany Atkins will miss the remainder of the season due to a torn meniscus. The Cowgirls have young players trying to fill the spot and are still looking to find someone to take charge of the team.
That's something we emphasize a little bit, is just instead of having that certain one person to be that leader, we've kind of developed everybody as a leader and everybody helping each other. So it's kind of, I think we're all making each other work and we're working hard for playing time. And I think now the coaches have kind of told us, he's not going to play people just because. We need to work hard. We need to play hard in practice. We need to play against each other, make each other better. So,
OSU is looking to make the Big 12 tournament with 7 conference games left to be played. The Cowgirls will return their focus to Texas as they host the Longhorns Wednesday night at 7. For the Poke Report, I'm Bailey Burmaster.
Joining me now is reporter Bailey Burmaster. Now, Bailey, why don't you talk to us about the reasons for the struggles the Cowgirls have had this year?
You know, this team's facing a lot of dynamic issues, especially on the court. Brittany Martin made a statement about how the team just didn't look like they enjoyed playing with each other, and it's showing up in conference play.
Now, earlier this year, Brittany Atkins was down with an injury. How has that affected the team?
Yeah, she tore her meniscus and she's out for the remainder of the season. And, that's going to force the coach to go to the bench a little bit more and play those younger, less experienced players. And it's going to put that gap on the court.
Now, what about the upcoming schedule for the Cowgirls?
Well, they just got a big win against the Longhorns at home, and they host Iowa State this weekend. So hopefully they can get a win. Later down the road, they'll host Oklahoma and have a few road games, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully if they can get some wins, they'll definitely be considerable for the Big 12 tournament.
And what are the keys to winning those games?
I think it's coming together as a team. They have to take accountability on the court. And along with that, I think they are kind of get intimidated by those big teams like Baylor and Oklahoma. So they can't be a second half team.
Now we'll be watching closely as the women try to get into the NCAA tournament. In fact, the Poke Report will keep you up to date on both the men and women's journey into the postseason. Now let's send it across the Athletic Village to the new Michael and Ann Greenwood Tennis Center with Dan Lindblad. Dan?
Thanks, Justin. I'm on the outside courts of this beautiful 50,000 square foot tennis center that opened January 2014 and is home to both OSU men's and women's tennis programs. This building is a tool that both players and coaches are happy to have as their home court. I had a chance to talk with him about the impact it had on the previous season, as well as the positives it can bring to the future of this program.
It's no question Oklahoma State has historically had success in tennis. The two sides have combined for 34 Big 12 championships, but haven't won it since 2003. The Cowgirls ended the 2014 season ranked 21st, the highest an OSU women's team has finished since 2001. Senior Karin Gatormson says this team has a chance to finally break through.
I just feel like this is probably the best I've seen our team overall the last few years I've been here. We just seem really motivated and willing to work right now.
OSU women's tennis coach Chris Young says keeping a fierce attitude will continue to help the program build.
I think that's the biggest key for us, is to have the momentum that this season we want to continue to go far, and then have girls have an experience they can build upon for next year.
The men's team has had a more difficult time winning prior to last year. Between 2010 and 2013, the Cowboys failed to win a Big 12 match in the regular season. OSU bounced back in 2014, making it as high as 15 in the ITA team rankings. Last year, senior Jacob Sood reached 61st in the ITA singles rankings and 14 in the doubles rankings, paired with Arjun Kadi. Sood says the difference between the years is substantial.
2 years ago we weren't ranked, we were an underdog. It was not a great season, and then last season was just awesome, where we almost beat everyone, like had the school record and stuff, and was just awesome.
Top players want to be able to train in a good environment and have good facilities to train in, so that's a big selling point to them.
You know, you tell the recruits that this building's going to be here, and you know, hopefully they trust you, and for sure I don't think there's any athlete that wouldn't want to play at a facility like this.
For the Poke Report, I'm Dan Lindblad.
After a tour of the center, the United States Tennis Association pronounced OSU's facilities as one of top 2 collegiately in the country, and that should make a big difference on the future of recruiting. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Dan. The Oklahoma State University tennis program is reaching its successful ways again. Cowgirl head coach Chris Young watched his team finish 21 this past season, the highest ranking since 2001. And Cowboy head coach Jay Udwadia watched his team make an NCAA tournament for the first time in 5 years. Katie Parrish profiles both coaches and their styles and how they reached success during the course of their career at Oklahoma State.
The concept of tennis is seemingly simple. Keep the ball in play and outlast your opponent. But coaching college tennis can be challenging. The head coach of Oklahoma State's women's tennis program is a big reason why they are having success on the court and as a team. Head coach Chris Young says coaching college tennis is one of the hardest sports to coach because you have to train the athletes to step outside their comfort zone.
This is definitely one of the more unique sports to coach, because kids have grown up their entire life playing as an individual sport, and only in college tennis is it a team sport.
Young believes making individuals believe in a team is challenging, but understands the value of coaching each girl differently. He may not always be the most vocal person during a match, but Young self-describes his coaching technique as patient but firm.
I talk a lot with the girls at practice, and I try to communicate. I think that's probably one of my strengths, is just communication and being able to allow the girls to know exactly where they stand and how I feel and what my expectations are.
Coach Young is a coach that believes communication is the key to success. And just like the game of tennis, the ball can bounce several different ways, and there are many ways to coach the sport. As for the men's tennis coach, his approach is slightly different. Coach Jay Udwadia has been the Cowboy tennis coach for 2 years, following an incredible 40-year tenure by James Wadley. Udwadia has an old-school coaching style of rewarding effort and hard work.
My coaching style would be more of a blue-collar type of tennis program where everyone works for everything they get. No excuses, hard-nosed.
College tennis serves as a melting pot for its athletes. All but one of the men's tennis team call a country other than the United States home. But Udwadia thinks the flavor of each different country is beneficial to him and Oklahoma State.
I think it benefits us sometimes more than them, because they have some culture they're bringing to our university, and also the Americans that we'd have in our team.
For the Polk Report, I'm Katie Parrish.
Both Coach Young and Udwadia understand their players well and have found ways to work with players from all around the world. Tennis is a sport that attracts players from near and far. Both the men's and women's team are stacked with international players.
And this brings a unique dynamic to the team. Courtney Brown talks to players and coaches about what it's like to come from all across the world to play the sport they love.
Flying overseas to a mystery country might be scary, but for some, it's to start a new opportunity playing sports they love. Oklahoma State tennis program is a diverse group of athletes. Both the men and women's team consist of players from around the world. The Cowgirls have 5 out of 8 foreign players, while the Cowboys have 9 out of 10 foreign players. OSU men's tennis coach Jay Wadier says even with all these different cultures, it helps the team.
It's a great melting pot. That's college tennis. You know, if you look across the country, it's great for the Americans, great for the foreign players to come together and learn different cultures and kind of bond and go into one group and become a close-knit family.
In some foreign countries, college sports don't exist, which is one of the reasons why foreigners come to play in America. Both coaches use the International Tennis Federation for recruiting. There is a ranking system at ITF that allows coaches to gauge players all over the world. Most players get noticed by playing tennis for their country or through ITF. Cowgirl tennis coach Chris Young says he looks for a good work ethic when he recruits out of the country.
The biggest thing we look for is someone who loves the game of tennis, that wants to compete, wants to work hard, continue to practice and get better. We look for girls who have professional aspirations.
These players are thousands of miles away from home, which introduces a problem: the language.
Sophomore Victoria Lushkova is from Ukraine. She says she likes having foreign players on the team because they understand her language.
Not all of us can speak English perfectly, so if we messed up something, we still can understand each other, but sometimes Americans are look at you, what did you just said?
Players say they don't get to go home much and get homesick. But with the support of their teammates, it feels like home. For the Polk Report, I'm Courtney Brown.
Tennis is not the only sport that has international roots. Track and field not only has players from around the globe, but also coaches. Sprint coach Diego Flacker has Colombian roots and a love for sprinting.
Now, if his last name sounds familiar for you fans of track, there's a reason for that. Jose Polanco caught up with the Sprints coach who holds his last name in high regard.
The relationship between a father and son is similar to the one between a coach and his athlete. To Sprints coach Diego Flacker, that relationship is the same.
If I can make that connection with them, with my personality and who I am, and instill in them my beliefs, my values as a person, as a coach, then I think that's where we can make a great connection and build something special.
That special something is what Flacker looks in his relationships with his athletes, like junior sprinter John Teeters, who he not only sees as his pupil, but as his son.
I'm like a father to him. I feel I am. We've had a great relationship. We've had our ups and downs and our struggles at times, but I think that's helped us achieve some of the goals that we have achieved up to this point, and that's been a blessing in itself.
Flacker's passion for track and field began at an early age, following his father's footsteps onto the track and off the blocks.
His father, Pedro Grajales, is a former 2-time Olympian in the 400 meters for Flacker's native country of Colombia. Grajales is such a pillar to Colombian track and field that a stadium was named after him in 2006.
I mean, that's a huge honor. I mean, that only happens when you're dead and you're still alive, so that's a blessing. So that's an exciting thing for the both of us.
The Pedro Grajales Track Stadium will be one of the venues hosting the IAAF World Youth Championships this July, but more importantly, will be the host of a father and son matchup between Grajales and Flacker.
This summer is going to be fun being able to be at World Youth with him, me on the USA staff, and him with the Colombian national team in the stadium that's named after him. That's going to be exciting.
Since arriving from Auburn last season, Flacker has revolutionized the once disregarded sprints program into one of the best in the Big 12. Flacker helped the Cowboys win the Big 12 Indoor Track and Field Championship last season and has guided Teeters into becoming one of the best sprinters in the country. Teeters broke the school record in the 60-meter dash, posting a time of 6.54 seconds, a feat he attributes to his coach.
I contribute like almost all my success to Diego. He's helped me grow immensely more than anything.
As Flacker continues to build a relationship with the Cowboy family, the future of the OSU Sprints team looks to be as strong as ever. For the Polk Report, I'm Jose Miguel Polanco.
Coach Flacker enjoyed a successful first season with the Cowboys. It was one of the best sprint seasons in recent years. And with sprinters like Teeters, the Cowboys look to be a Big 12 contender once again.
The Cowboys have seen individuals rise to the top, yet so has the women's track team. At recent events, individuals have placed in the top 15 and also recorded personal best. Alan Sanders has more on what makes the Cowgirl track team run.
A key component of the Cowgirls' success over the past 2 seasons is sophomore Savannah Camacho. She's one of the most prolific mid-length runners the team has ever had. After starting a career setting records in the 800 meters and 1,000 meters on the way to an All-American season, Camacho is running away with the records.
I think she's talented. I think she's competitive. I think she has big goals. She does not limit herself. You know, some of the times when she tells me this is what my goal is, I'm like, whew. But you know, you don't show that to her, you don't say it to her, and then she goes and does it.
Savannah came from Templeton High School in Paso Robles, California. Transitioning from California to Oklahoma was an easy one, especially when she's doing what she loves.
The athletics programs over here are a lot better than California, in my opinion. They just put so much money into them, and so when you come here, it's really, really sports-oriented, and that's nice to have all the support from the school.
In 2012, Savannah ran longer distances, including the 5,000 and 6,000 meters. Since then, she's transformed into a mid-length runner where she found her niche in the last 2 years. She also achieved the honor of first-team academic All-Big 12.
I kind of fell into the 800 in high school a little bit. I used to be mostly the mile, and then the 800, I ran it one time, and it just clicked.
When the pistol's fired, it's all about the frame of mind. Runners like Savannah have to focus to cross the finish line first.
Kind of like, I just think like, oh crap, like it's starting and just go.
Although she was out for part of last year's outdoor season, Savannah has been able to recover and help the team to a number 13 ranking in the indoor category earlier this season.
You know, Savannah's a little behind where she's been in the past, where she was last year. But again, she's a really good athlete, and she expects to be back where she was, and we're hoping that she can kind of recapture that form she showed last year by the end of the indoor season.
By the end of the year, Savannah hopes to improve on her second-place win in the 2014 Nationals by taking home the gold. This weekend, the Cowgirls are competing in the Tyson Invitational. Results for that will be out soon. For the Polk Report, I'm Alan Sanders.
Camacho is one of the rising stars in a field full of top athletes. As a young sprinter, she's already achieved several accolades.
Camacho isn't the only female track athlete that has had success at Oklahoma State. We send our own Chris Horn to the track to discuss the overall state of the program.
Building a national caliber track program starts just like any race, with a single step. Oklahoma State women's track is leading the race against all former school teams. It ranks 15th nationally and has been in the top 15 for 4 consecutive weeks now, a first in program history. Junior sprinter Brittany Presley loves the national attention the program is getting and sees only bigger and better things in the future.
Honestly, I see a back-to-back championships, NCAA, Big 12s, so it's going to be pretty amazing.
What seemed to be a consensus thought from teammates was the importance of the team's sprinting coach. Diego Flacker is in his 3rd season at OSU. His presence has brought in not only big-name sprinters like John Teeters to the program, but raised the competitive spirit of all runners.
I think the addition of Diego has really, really pushed our program forward. He's brought in lots of sprinters, which in turn make us want to run faster and just more competitive, and it makes for a good atmosphere.
Although the athletes are happy with the team's recent success, Coach Smith is focused more on the team's long-term goal.
You know, I think it's a good sign of we're headed in the right direction. It's not where we want to be yet. You know, being ranked is really kind of meaningless until you back it up.
The women's team has only 6 top 5 finishes for outdoor conference championships, with the most recent one coming in 1990 when it finished 5th. Smith isn't blind to the national success, though. Because the athletes care more about where they finish nationally, Smith uses that success to his advantage when recruiting.
It's exciting to be able to point that out to young athletes we're recruiting, or even young athletes we have on the team now, and say, this is a top-level program, and we're making headway. We're getting to where we want to be.
Given the consistent success the team has shown throughout the season, Coach Smith is confident the team can improve on its 15th place finish in last year's Nationals. For the Polk Report, I'm Chris Horan.
With 3 invitationals remaining until the Big 12 championships, the women's team will keep on running toward their ultimate goal.
That's all we have for you for this week's edition of the Polk Report. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time as we dig deeper into the world of OSU athletics. I'm Courtney May.
And I'm Justin Packard. Make sure you check out the Polk Report website for more OSU sports news. Thanks for joining us.